The torture methods only get worse from here. Although it's going to be hard to top the Spanish spider. Let's join the video already in progress. One of the most notable torture methods was the thumbscrew, the use of which would destroy fingers and toes. It slowly cranked down during an interrogation to grind information out of the accused and cause great pain to make them confess. Variants were used on different parts of the bodies. Too big for the actual thumb screws. The knee destroyer is one said variant, which was basically used to permanently hobble motherfuckers. The thumb screws, the fingers could repair themselves and heal, but the knee destroyer permanently ruined the knee, and it just caused great pain. As a torture method, it was very effective. In any incarnation, it got the job done. This is one of the other torture methods that lasted out in the Dark Ages and was used in the States against slaves and other people. It was also used in medieval Britain to straighten little girls' fingers. Same design, different use. This is one of the torture methods that, after the Inquisition was done, was used for relatively benign uses. The rack not so much, but thumb screws. Sure they were used for a long time after that. Whether or not it was used in the Spanish Inquisition, it's not known, but it was used in the Inquisition as a whole. The head crusher, basically is a torture method that would permanently fuck you in the brain. If it didn't kill you, it would cause severe brain damage. So the chin was placed on a bottom bar, and a cap was cranked down until the head and caused teeth to shatter into the jaw. It compressed the skull. In some cases, it actually made the eyeballs bulge out of the skull and fall out. This one could be drawn out and the cap be unscrewed. If the torture was stopped prematurely, as said before, there could be massive brain damage. There was many versions to this one that would catch the eyes as they fell out. Alongside the knee crusher, this one could do the most permanent damage because it caused physical damage to the brain, but it also caused psychological damage because of the physical damage. Something that was commonly known as the saw torture was prevalent throughout the Middle Ages and was used in the Inquisition as a whole. I'm not sure if it was used in the Spanish Inquisition, but it was used as in the Inquisition as a whole. So the reason many torturers preferred this method is because it used handy things to be accomplished. A saw and something to hang the victim upside down. It was relatively easy to set up since there was no really sophisticated machine used to do the torture. The reasons for the inverted posture of the victim was to slow the bleeding, cause humiliation, and make the blood rush to the victim's head. Implemented as a torture method, the tortured would be forced to watch someone being cut in half. If they didn't confess, they were cut in half themselves. That's a pretty visceral kind of torture, where you're watching someone be slowly tortured, and if you don't confess to sins, you're going to be chopped in half. And even if you do confess, you're going to be burned at the stake anyway. So I mean, it's damned if you do, damned if you don't. Imagine watching someone being cut in half. That would be very visceral, and it would fuck you up. I'm pretty sure that, unless you were a sociopath. The heretic's fork was used during the Middle Ages, but gained prominence during the Spanish Inquisition. This form of torture did not harm any vital points, which meant it gave an excruciating pain, but didn't endanger the tortured person's lives. The specs of this torture were two set of forks, one under the chin and one in the upper chest. The hands were usually bound behind the back so as not to allow for any kind of jimmying the shit off. As you may or may not imagine, this made talking almost impossible and was mostly used after an interrogation so as to not to hear the witness or the like any further. A collar held the fork in place and restricted the movement even more. The fork also harmed the neck and was liable to cause an infection or some other disease from being poked into the chest, not being attended to, and the shitty medical attention that people would get. And it would have had to been a sight to see this during its prominent use. There have been many forms of water torture, which I mentioned before, with the whole cloth in throat, throwing water down your throat. There was dunking, which just dropping people into water. Dropping, which let small drops of water hit the same spot. If you've watched Mythbusters, you see how effective that is, even if you know that you're safe. It can really fuck you up. The cauldron, which cooked the person alive, and then there was just people freezing with water. Now, all of these may or may not have been used during the Spanish Inquisition, but they happened in the Middle Ages and during the Inquisition as a whole. Dunking is self-explanatory, as I mentioned. It's just dunking people repeatedly into the water until the torturer saw that they were about to pass out and pulled them up. The torturer needed information. He would lower it. Dropping, or known as drops of water, was especially painful since the head was set under a small tube, which made small drops hit the same spot over and over again, which I mentioned. They did this on Mythbusters. You can find it on YouTube, or you can go buy it on DVD, but they did it. And it's a very effective form of torture because even if you know that you're not going to be harmed, it still can fuck you with you. It led to perforation and eventually death. The victim suffered many harmful side effects, as always, but that's it for part 3. Part 4 to come soon. Peace out, and hopefully there's not another Inquisition soon.